Welcome to another episode of the 997 Build Series. We're going to be working just in the back today. Got 3 projects in mind. Let me talk you through them. All right, so we've got to get the car up on a lift to do a project. Figure we might as well go ahead and knock out the other 2 because all of them have to do with the rear and most of them involve removal of the rear bumper cover. So this car came with AWE side mufflers and headers. That system sounds really good. It's a little Jekyll and Hyde in that it's pretty restrained and subdued under 3,500, but when you get up above 3,500, it really opens up and sings and sounds really, really nice. That said, I'd like a little more low end in terms of overall exhaust, especially at idle. Also, I want to increase airflow just to increase performance and that kind of stuff. So I picked up a Car Graphic 200 cell Sport Cat X pipe. Heard a lot of really good things about Car Graphic. The quality's super high. The cats are, the German made versions, which you would want. And so we're going to throw that on just to complement the AWE system that's already on here and take it up just that next level. I didn't want to go too loud with like a side muffler delete. I don't think that's exactly what I'm going for. So we're going to get that on. The second thing we're going to do while we have the exhaust off is refinish these AWE tips. Love the tips. They're in a polished chrome. Doesn't really go with what I'm doing in terms of the overall build aesthetics. So we're going to take those and refinish them in satin black. And the third thing we're going to do while the bumper's already off is put on a Cypher Vehicle Design Bumperette Delete panel. Definitely go check them out if you haven't already. Lots of really awesome parts, a ton of stuff for the 997, but specifically he made this delete panel that's very popular that allows you to take off the bumperettes on the rear of the car and put in a panel in its place and put your plate over that and get more of that like modern, non-bumperette look, which a lot of people are going for. So I'm gonna go that route. I had that covered in the wrap already when I brought this up to Top Card so that it would match and everything. So we'll throw that on while the bumper's off, put it all back together, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
All right, so first order of business is gonna be to get the bumper off. Basically, you're gonna pop the hood, you're gonna remove the screws up here, you're gonna remove both tail lights on either side, then you're gonna remove the screws underneath. We're also obviously gonna take off the license plate cover, so I'll get that whole assembly off, and then we'll start to check in on the bumperette, delete panel, how that's gonna work, get these exhaust tips are, start the refinishing process on those, so while they're drying and curing between prime coats and final coats, I can be working on the X pipe in the middle. So we've got the bumper removed, we've got that over there, so we're gonna take the bumperettes off, put the panel on, got the license plate removed obviously, got the exhaust tips off, as you can see here and here, and the next thing we're gonna need to do is to actually take off the crash bar because we need to remove obviously these bumperettes on the car, so we put the bumper back on without those recesses or insets, it slides on. So while we're in there and have that off, I'm also going to be taking off the exhaust, the center section where the cats are, dropping that and putting on the new Car Graphic exhaust. Okay, so rear crash bar comes off pretty easy, 16mm bolts there. Once you get it down, you've got 2 10mm bolts here to take off this heat shield. You can separate that. Then you have to drill out the tops of these bumperettes right here to release those. And then you basically just put everything back on in reverse, although I'm certainly not going to do that because now you guys can probably see why I decided to do these 2 projects in conjunction. With the heat shield off, the rear bumper crash bar, the bumper obviously, all off, you get amazing access to this center section, which is what I'm going to be replacing with the Car Graphic X pipe. So we're going to do that while everything's off, make this job just that much easier. So we'll go and get this bumperette piece done, drill these out and remove the bumperettes themselves. That way it's all ready to reassemble. And then I'm going to start prepping and painting the satin black on the exhaust tips from AWE, and then I will start dropping this exhaust. So for the exhaust tips, pretty straightforward process. We're starting by prepping the surface with an all-purpose cleaner like eraser. Just want to get all the dirt and grime, anything that's built up off of that. Then we're going to use 2 Rust-Oleum products for this one. So I'm trying their automotive high heat primer. This is up to 2,000 degrees. And then also their ceramic coating in flat black. So these 2 products are designed for engines, exhausts, all those kinds of things. I have not used them before. So we're going to give them a shot on this and see what it looks like. All right, so while that is coating, primer, and final coat and drying, we're going to get the exhaust disconnected. Basically, there's just a couple connection points, one of which is here. So this connects from your side muffler, which is back here on either side behind the wheel, around to the center. So we're going to take that off. So then we're also going to disconnect this point right here, which is coming from your headers over to the cats. And as you can see, those cross over, go to the side muffler. So really just form an X. So we're going to get those two pieces off and the middle section that they encompass, and then we'll be able to put the new piece on it. The other thing you've got to be mindful of is there are O2 sensors on the catalytic converters. You can kind of see one back here. And so you've got to disconnect those. If you drop this with those connected, you might do damage. So you got to take the air box out. That's actually pretty easy. You can see I've already done that. So there's a bolt here on this stud. There's a collar that attaches to the throttle body. You disconnect both. Disconnect this oil filler line and pull the air box out, as you can see over here. So that's pretty simple. There is a little vacuum line here as well. And then you'll have access to these plugs. There's two over here and there's two over here. And you basically take those out of the harnesses and disconnect them and feed them back down through here. And that way the O2 sensors will come out with these cats and then you can swap them over. So I'm gonna keep working on this to get the cats out, and then I'm gonna assemble a new system, put it in, then I'll check back in. All right, so we've got the sport cats on. Finally was able to get the original cats off. It was quite a trick, but that's all downhill once you get those off typically. So we got all this installed, obviously left everything loose in terms of attachments, and got everything kind of in position, dry fit, and then bolt everything down. Also super happy with how these tips turned out. They look the part, definitely what I was going for. And so yeah, we're gonna get the rear bumper crash bar back on, we're gonna get the rear bumper back on, and then I will start the car, give you guys a cold start, that way you can hear what it sounds like with the full system. So AW headers, AW side mufflers, and of course this beautiful car graphic 200 cell Cat X pipe. All right guys, so we're gonna go for a little bit of drive, give you some of my impressions of the exhaust as it is right now, and then get a pulse on whether we think we're done or there's anything left to do. I think I already know the answer. I've kind of been listening to it and driven it around, but let me just talk you through it. So car graphic, 200 cell Sport Cats X pipe, which has definitely punched up the sound a little bit. So that was kind of the goal. You know, the AWE setup sounds really good over like 4,000, but it was just way too soft for my taste. You know, anything under 4,000 RPM. So I want a little more punch. We definitely achieved that on cold start. There's a little bit more going on. Driving around like I am here, you know, just leaving the neighborhood, there's a little bit more personality for sure. It does open up also a little bit more, you know, once you get up to say 2,500, 3,000. So the point where it opens up definitely has gone down from an RPM standpoint, but I think it might still be a little bit light for my taste. Now, this is very subjective. A lot of people want something that's very drivable, that they could still have a conversation, you know, in the car around if they're driving, you know, something that's not gonna drone a lot on the highway. You know, for me, I've got a daily driver, you know, I have the Cayenne. That's something that if I'm gonna be on a longer trip on the highway, or maybe have a passenger with me, you know, running errands, taking a work call, things like that, you know, I'm gonna be in that car. So, you know, in this car, I really am looking for something that's got, you know, some personality, even if it's leaning a little louder. You know, I'm using this mostly in the mountains or for fun little drives around town like this. And so, you know, I really want to hear it. And so I think if you're looking for that all around exhaust, you know, that really fits all situations regardless, this setup would be perfect. You know, it's just the perfect amount of noise. You know it's there. It gives the car some personality, but it doesn't sound really aggressive. What we're gonna try as kind of our next phase is, I think we're gonna go over to a side muffler bypass. I've heard this online, I've heard videos of this. It's pretty aggressive, but I think that may be what this car needs, if I'm being honest. And so it's something that's easy enough to install. Huge shout out to Cypher Vehicle Design. So they sent me a set of their side muffler bypass pipes for me to try out. And so we're gonna install those on the car next and kind of do our due diligence on cold start and drive around and see where it is. And if I'm being honest, with almost any car, a lot of what you end up having to do is kind of that trial and error with exhaust. It's very hard to figure out exactly, what you want your exhaust to sound like based on a YouTube video or some forum post. You kind of have to hear it for yourself. And so I think you can always expect to kind of go through some iterations on exhaust if you're really focused on getting it to a very specific level. If you're kind of more, hey, I just want it to sound pretty good and, I'm not overly specific, you certainly can probably get it right out of the box. But rarely do I do that. With the E46, I spent a lot of time tweaking, testing, revising to get that where I wanted. So I'm gonna end up doing the same thing here as part of this journey in this video, and I think that's kind of inevitable. On the 997 specifically, I would say it's a little tougher 911 platform to figure out exhaust on. On the older air-cooled stuff, a lot of times it's side muffler modifications. That's where most of the sound tweaking can be done. Pfister side mufflers are a good example for the 993. And then with the 991, that was really about the center section, headers and center section. Pretty straightforward again. The sole valved exhaust I had on that is still, in my opinion, the best sounding exhaust I've had on any car ever. But with the 997, you've got a lot of stuff going on. You've got headers, you have side mufflers, you have a center section that's catted that can include a muffler depending on whether it's base or an S. There's a PSE option, obviously, on the 997, like many others, so that comes into play. That also can limit your aftermarket options if you have PSE. So there's all kinds of dynamics on the 997. I think, I haven't done all of them, but it seems like one of the more complicated 911 platforms to get the exhaust right. So we're gonna keep tweaking. I'll give you a couple driving clips without me talking over them here real quick, and then let's see what the bypass sounds like and see if that's the ticket. So quick look at what we've done. So as you can see back here in this opening is where the side mufflers used to be, right behind the wheel. So we removed those on both sides. And then basically the pipe that comes out of the center section here, which of course is our 200 cell X pipe, typically would run along there and it would run back into the side muffler, and then the side muffler would be the pipe that comes out for the tailpipes. But in this case, it's a direct elbow that takes you straight out the back. So that's the bypass. Pretty simple in concept. So I've got this set up right now without the tips on. So I'm gonna drive this a little bit and just make sure I like it. Go ahead and give you guys a cold start, and we'll get a little bit of driving with this one as well. All right guys, so got the muffler bypass on. I think we found the sweet spot. Basically, if the sport exhaust, from Porsches, let's say like a 2 or 3 out of 10, the AW headers and side mufflers that I had on with the standard cats and standard center section were like a 4.5 out of 10. The AW side mufflers, headers, and sport cats with the X pipe got us to about a 6 out of 10. I think we're at like a 9 out of 10 with this muffler bypass. It's very aggressive, it's very loud, doesn't drone too bad, which is great. Definitely has a lot of the sound I'm looking for in terms of aggressiveness, and I think the 200 cell sport cats in the X pipe help to like pull it in a little bit, just make it a little more refined, not quite as raw as just like basically straight piped. But it sounds really, really good, and I think this is where we're gonna land on the exhaust for now. Let me give you a drive. You can see how that sounds, kind of where we landed on this video, and then we'll wrap it up.
right, guys, so there you have it. Very, very happy with that sound. Hopefully it came through in the video. Really appreciate you watching this one as I've gone through the journey of trying to figure out exactly how I want to get this exhaust dialed in. If you're enjoying this, make sure you subscribe. We got a bunch of stuff coming to the build. Seatbelts, as you can see, are in. I've got a video coming on that. The seats are in, the Recaros, all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll catch you on the next one.